Kolbrin Bible, Book 4, Sons of Fire, Chapter 12, The Rolls of Record, 6, SOF 12:1. Before we left Dradesh, they brought living sheep and goats and hung them upon a tree standing in the place of assembly. Birds of bright colors and things of worked gold and silver were hung upon the branches, perfumes and oils with garments. They danced about the tree, and hewn wood was brought and laid against it. 3 maidens came, and it was lit and burnt as an offering to success. SOF 12:2. We went northwards, and came to a strand, where many ships were drawn up, and armed men, such as we had not seen before, were disputing among themselves with great noise. SOF 12:3. We drew off, for they were foreign to us, but others came behind, and we were taken in among them, and brought before Albanic, the leader of armed men. They pushed around about us, and some cried out for blood. They wished to take our ships and possessions, but the leader said, "Leave the deed until the morning, for if blood flows now, it will not cease with the foreigners." SOF 12:4. That night the wife of Albanic spoke to him and said, "It would be a foolish thing and an evil deed to slay these strangers, for they have wisdom and are men of learning. Why destroy something you may use to good end?" The leader listened to her advice, for he knew there were many wounded men and none more skilled than we to attend them. Because she was carrying a child, our lives were spared and our goods restored to us. SOF 12:5. The commander among the captains was a warrior, who while hunting had slain his own father, and so had to flee his own land. With him he had taken the queen, captured by sly and subtle means. But we feared him not, for Albanic looked upon us with favorable eyes. SOF 12:6. Of the warriors who came with us, there were a score of men from Ilipinos. They wore helmets of bronze with plumes of scarlet and purple. Their shields were bronze burnished so that they shone like the sun, and were edged with a band of hardened metal. In length they were 2.5 cubits, and the width 1.5 cubits. They had spears of unknotted wood 6 cubits in length, with blades of hard metal set in sockets. SOF 12:7. Their swords were pure hard metal worked in a strange way, and in length 1.5 cubits, and in width 3 fingers' breadth. They were horn-handled and bound about with wire of copper and silver. Some among them were armed with war javelins and darts. They had a curious dart that turned over itself in flight, and another that struck in from the side. SOF 12:8. In battle they stood there in 3 to withstand the rush of the enemy, but they were weak in attack, for they moved heavily. With them were slaves and 60 attendants, who were plunderers of the battlefield, pillagers of the land, the cooks, the baggage keepers, and the carriers of burdens. The warriors were the battle craftsmen. SOF 12:9. In 7 days all the ships sailed together, and in 7 days came upon some land by the sea. It was a place of the dead, where all was desolation. In the center of the land by the sea there stood a temple which had fallen into itself, for there was no people to keep it. The leaders and the chief among them went up to the temple and made sacrifices to their gods, whose voices they wished to hear. SOF 12:10. The daughter of Laban, the armorer, had hidden herself in the opening behind the flame, and spoke to them in a strange tongue. They heard her voice and thought it came from a shadow god. She told them of the land of her mother, called Belheria, and bid them find their way there. She told them to take the Bethedin with them, for they brought good fortune and were beloved by the gods. The leaders went out from the temple, believing they had been granted a vision. SOF 12:11. We sailed with a large company towards the west, and had nothing to fear, except the whirlpool. For the red men with us knew the way of the waters. For long days we saw only the sea, and the land sighting birds all came back. SOF 12:12. We went out through the mouth of the sea into the sea of the great river. past the lands of white copper to the place of painted men, where we drew up the ships and staked them. SOF 1213. Among the fighting men were some from Sparcia, whose leader was Kolbrin, called the Axeman, but whom we named the Cunning One. These went out into the forest to hunt, and the king of that place sent men to take them. But they refused to go, and there was a loud dispute. SOF 1214. The bodyguard with the leader of the painted men were bowmen, and one shot an arrow at Kolbrin. He slewed aside behind his shield, and the arrow turned into the throat of a painted man, who held a sword against him. This started a great fight between forest and sea, and though surrounded by many enemies, Kolbrin fought through them. The battle was his because he went forward through the forest and attacked the houses of the painted men. SOF 1215. The ships were divided, and those who wished to set up the eagle and serpent went to the harbor of giants in Valheria. The same giants are builders of great temples, and they are 6 cubits tall. SOF 1216. The ship with Kolbrin stayed with us, and he hunted them out of their caves, and slew them all, save one giantess. She came to us bound as a surety for the life of the wife of Albanic. SOF 1217. We came to a bay, and on one side of which was a forest, and on the other a plain, where herds grazed. For the men of that place it was the time of the feast of fires, and they held games upon the shores and ran races in cleared land behind. At this time they would not fight, so we met them in peace. They wore garments woven in 2 parts and belted with hide. They had caps of skin or leather, and the tunic which hung about them was darkly colored in blue, green, and brown. They enclosed their legs and feet in dressed skins, bound in front with thongs. They had many ornaments of copper, but little gold or silver. Though their armbands and brooches shone like silver, they had the art of making copper like silver or gold. SOF 1218. These people hold a great feast before the beginning of the heat, when their god Mago appears. Inside the god were the spirits of men, whom the god had eaten, and their voices could be heard calling for deliverance from darkness. Because of the feast, these people demanded the giantess, and she was given over to them for the days of feasting. SOF 1219. We did not know the ways of these people, and when we saw that they wished us to drink blood, we drew apart from them. The headman sent a messenger to us, and Kolbrin and the giantess wrestled together, but the giantess was the stronger, so Kolbrin lured her towards the cliff edge. Kolbrin taunted her and laughed at her clumsiness, and then at the break of the cliff he tricked her, so that she rushed forward. As she passed beside him, he turned behind her and pushed so that she fell over the cliff edge onto a large black rock below. Her back was broken. The same black rock was later split and taken up to be worshipped. SOF 1220. In the place to which we came, the deathless stars ride high. The adze rests on the morning, and the watchman at the gate of the sky sits at the eastern tiller in the evening. The Valken is rarely seen clearly. This is the land of Dada. SOF 1221. We warned them, but they would not listen. They were fasting before the battle, the sacred fast before they ate the meat of the offerings. We buried salt beneath the floors of their houses so that no man would live there again. When the horns sounded the alarm and danger threatened, these shrewd bargainers came running to us. Their faces were wet with the sweat of fear, and their lips trembled. When the danger was past, they came out with chests puffed up and tongues bragging about their deeds. They were the first to push forward for a share in the plunder. SOF 1222. Kolbrin left to seek them. He took 2 ships, but did not return to his children. The leader may be carried away, but the lowliest of those who followed him has a will which need never be broken. Now, when men wish to say a thing is impossible, they say, "Where is Kolbrin?"